Happy campers, knees up, breathe. Yes, sirree, Bob, there's nothing like an early morning jog to kind of grab some quick energy, huh? What do you think, happy campers, huh? And speaking of energy, we've got a couple of live wires from Alabama Power that are here to show us all about electricity. But first, let's look to the mountains, to our good friend, Tommy the Swami.
Greetings, curious ones. We are learning many fascinating things about electricity, no? It is a truly powerful and amazing thing. But did you know that you can generate your own electricity? Yes, it's true. You have your own personal generator that you carry with you at all times. Do you know where it is? Of course you do. It's right up here in your head. I'm speaking of your brain. Now, the kind of power your brain generates is different from the kind of power we use to light up a light bulb. But it is just as important. Your brain has the power to solve problems, paint pictures, even write a TV show like this one. So what are you waiting for? Click on that switch and make that brain hum. So until next time, simsalabim, and may the road to enlightenment be free of speed bumps.
Danger, high voltage, sounds like serious stuff. And we're going to talk some more about it right now with our friends, Mr. Rick and Mr. Lindell from Alabama Power Company. Welcome to Camp WALABEAR.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Pretty darn swell to have you guys here. Well, obviously you guys are going to teach us a little bit about electricity, so why don't you tell us something about electricity?
Well, thank you. First, we're going to obey one of the first rules, and that is obey what the sign says. Danger, high voltage, keep away. Since this is a three-dimensional project we have going here, we want to make sure that you stay away from while we're operating, okay? Does everybody understand that rule?
I think that's pretty clear. That sign spells it out.
Thank you. Does anyone know where electricity is always trying to go home to? Yes, that's right. It's always trying to go through ground. And what we're here to talk about today is to make sure that electricity don't travel through our bodies and trying to go home into the ground. Does anyone know why electricity can go through our body?
I'm stumped.
That's because we got a lot of water in our bodies. In fact, they say we've got 70% water in our bodies. Can you believe that?
A lot of water there.
Well, that's why it's very careful that we don't come in touch with power lines or things that carry electricity that will allow the electricity to go through us. Before we get started, we also want to show you that we're going to use very special gloves here today in using our project. We want to make sure that these gloves are not the gloves like your mom and dad have around the house. You can't use the gloves underneath the sink that Mama uses or the gloves that Daddy uses out in the garage. These are special gloves that Alabama Power Company has made for them, and they're tested every month to make sure that they're in good working condition. Well, what we want to talk to you first about is what will happen if if a power line fell on your vehicle. What are some of the things that you should do? And Mr. Lindell's going to demonstrate that to us. Lindell?
Okay, thank you, Rick. Boy, it's great to be with you girls and guys here today and talk a little bit about electricity, okay? If you'll notice on our board before you're here this morning, we have a little house. And inside the house is a transformer. And a transformer changes the voltage that we're using today, okay? So remember, a transformer changes voltage, okay?
Okay.
So we're taking this low voltage and stepping it up to high voltage. We're actually using 10,000 volts here today.
That's pretty serious stuff, huh?
It really is. I've got a little toggle switch on back of my house, and when I flip the switch, the little light will become energized, and the board will be hot at that time, okay? So we have a line down on the school bus at the present time. And let's see what would happen if we energize our board and turn the electricity on. Oh, okay. Do you hear anything?
I hear a little noise.
You might hear a little buzz. You can hear it sometimes, but most of the time you don't hear electricity, do you? Do you see anything?
No.
No. Can't see anything. Do you smell anything?
Nope.
Nope. Can't smell electricity, can you? But if you'll notice on the school bus, the power line is down on top of our bus, isn't it? What would happen if you were on that school bus and on your way to school one morning and that power line came down on that bus and the bus driver told you to step off that bus? Would you do that?
No.
No, we wouldn't want to do that, because what would happen the moment we step off that bus and make contact with ground?
Oh, no.
You might very well be. Let's look at our little man and let him make contact with the bus and see what would happen.
Ouch.
You see that? That electricity flowing right through that bus, through that little man, isn't it? If you'll look at his hand and look at his feet, the electricity's going to ground, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So electricity's always trying to go home. Okay? Let's see what would happen if you remain inside the school bus. As long as you're inside the bus, you're okay. You're not getting shocked, are you?
Nope.
Okay? So what we have to do is be very careful if we're in a school bus to make sure that we don't get out and make contact with ground, okay? And if at all possible, you need to tell that bus driver he should just drive that bus out from underneath the line or back the bus up if at all possible, okay? He could just drive that bus out from underneath the line. And that's what a little girl over in Mississippi did one day. She was actually on that school bus with some 30 other children, and she told that bus driver, just simply drive out from underneath that power line. And she actually saved all 30-odd children on that bus that day.
So there's a happy camper that used the old noggin, huh?
Exactly right. So, all right, Rick, you want to talk about the next?
Yes, we want to talk to you especially about our little system here today also. If you notice our wires are going from pole to pole, that those wires are just bare metal. Do you see that? Now don't touch it, but they are just bare metal. There's no magic about them. There's no insulation around them. It's just bare conductors that allows electricity to go through them. How many of y'all like to fly a kite? Oh, I do too.
Especially on a blustery day.
That's correct. Today would be such a great day for it too. We'd like to talk to you about what kind of kites you should fly. First of all, you never want to take a kite that has anything metal on it or any kind of metal or foil string on it and put it up in the air. Do you know why? Okay, that's correct. And if it came in contact with something like a bare conductor, it could carry the electricity down to the ground to where you are, right? That's right. Well, let's see that. Again, we turn our system on, and we do hear a little arcing, don't we? Do you see anything that's going on the bottom of the ground? Well,
nope.
Let's see. Let's see if anything's really happening there.
Ouch.
That's correct. Electricity is going home in the ground through the kite. So we want to make sure that we never take any kind of metal string or any type of little thin wire and put it on a kite to fly it. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right.
That's some pretty darn swell advice for our happy campers at home to follow. And we'll catch up more right after we go talk with our benevolent benefactor, J. Walter Wallbanger.
Well, hey there. How about those folks from the power company? Yes, sirree, Bob, electricity can be dangerous. But all the good things it does outweigh the bad things. Sure, if we didn't have electricity, we'd sit around in the dark and you couldn't watch old J. Walter on the TV. But more importantly, if it wasn't for electricity, this TV you're watching couldn't have been built, much less turned on. You see, we've harnessed electricity, and we use its power to be more productive. Electricity gives us the power to build things in factories. It runs the computers at your school where you learn how to be more productive. Heck, if it wasn't for electricity, this old office here wouldn't work worth the darn. So take it from old J. Walter Wallbanger. Electric power gives us the power to do more. So keep plugging, and always remember that you're never too small to think big.
Yes, yes we are, and we're talking with Mr. Rick and Mr. Lindell, the power guys. You know, some days it's just so nice outside, you're feeling kind of frisky like an orangutan, and you just want to go and climb a tree. But there are probably a couple of pointers we should keep in mind when we go out and do that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. You girls like to climb trees? All of us like to climb trees at some time. Let's talk about trees and why they may be dangerous. You know, we have a little character, his name's Louie the Lightning Bug, and he would say a safe tree to climb is a tree not near a power line, okay?
There you go.
But we're going to energize our board once again. And this tree again, do you see anything?
No.
Do you hear anything?
No.
Do you smell anything?
No.
But the whole time the tree is into the power line, let's see what's happening.
Once
At the
again,
bottom, if we can raise it up from the bottom, do you see an arc coming under there?
looks like our old friend electricity is trying to go home as usual.
And where did we say home for electricity is?
The ground.
The ground, exactly. So if you're thinking about building a tree house or cutting a tree, you need to be very careful and make sure there's not any trees around those power lines, okay?
All right.
Okay?
So what do we have next?
Okay, we have a chain link fence. And a chain link fence is a conductor of electricity as well, okay? And a lot of times during the storms, the high winds bring the trees down on the power lines, and they may fall against the chain link fence. And that could be dangerous, can't it? Let's just see what would happen. And Rick, where's our little man that we put into the fence? I've got him right over here. Let's see. Let's put a little man right up into the fence and see what would happen, okay? Once again, we're going to energize our board, turn the light, power's on. Let's see what happens when the little man walks up and touches the fence.
Whoops.
And see, that can happen so easily when the high winds and rains bring the trees down, and the power lines on the fence, okay?
So a rule of thumb would be if there's a power line down near a fence, stay away.
Exactly. Stand warning, call for help. Call the local utility. We'd be glad to come out and take care of it, okay?
Great. What's this green box we have here next to
We're going to ask Rick to explain the little green boxes for you, okay?
Come on down, Mr. Rick.
All right, thank you. Well, we're going to, first of all, we're going to turn off our system just for a second because I don't want to make you feel that I can touch these power lines with my hands when the system is on. That's not correct. We have to turn it off. But what does this sign say?
Danger, high voltage, if found open, call the power company.
Yeah, that's right. Call Alabama Power. These little stickers go on what we call our pad mount transformers. Our pad mount transformers, just like Mr. Lindell talked about the one in this house, it takes high voltage and reduces it to low voltage so that we can have power in our homes. In fact, this gray thing up on top of the pole that looks like a garbage can, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Well, really, it's a transformer too. But these boxes are very important because they do the same thing as the gray garbage can on the top does, and that is it works with electricity. And I know kids like sometimes to play around these transformers, but they're really not a good place to play because, see, a car can accidentally hit one of these. And now these boxes are always locked. And we like to keep them locked because inside, let's open up and see. We see that there's some special knobs in there, just like a real transformer. Well, if you accidentally open that and touch one of those knobs, serious injury can occur. In fact, it could really kill you. So if you ever find one open, it's important to call Alabama Power because we don't want anyone to go up there and touch anything inside a transformer. So if we find one of these open, who should we call?
Call the power company. That's right.
And what else can we do besides calling Alabama Power? Call 911, very good. And one more thing, if anybody comes up and tries to touch it, you should say, stay away, the power company's coming.
So that's a closet that should remain locked at all times.
All times. And if you ever see anyone trying to mess with one of those locks, please call Alabama Power. Any hour, any day, it doesn't matter. We're open all the time. We never close.
Well, Mr. Rick, Mr. Lindell, that was pretty darn informative. And speaking of informative, the news is next.
This is a Camp WALABEAR special edition of Action News 10.
Good morning, happy campers. I'm Eleanor Reynolds, and this is WALABEAR News. Tonight is the big night for the contestants in the America's Junior Miss program. Participants performed in yet another exciting evening on Thursday, highlighted with song and dance. The young women were again divided into 3 groups, each scoring points in areas of poise and appearance, physical fitness, and talent. Colleen Clarkson of Arizona, Amy Osmond of Utah, and Nicole Cardell of Georgia won 4 awards each in that last preliminary competition for the America's Junior Miss title. You can watch the entire America's Junior Miss program live right here tonight on Channel 10, as we here at WALA will bring you live coverage of the finals beginning at 7 p.m. Join us. Summer is a time for going to camp if you can, and this summer dozens of high school students spent 4 weeks of their time under the hot sun in Greene County, Alabama. These students, along with teachers and scientists, researched dinosaur-age fossils from a black belt region field site once covered with water and teeming with sea life. Organizers from the University of Alabama's Museum of Natural History say this expedition is now in its 16th year, and most of the fossils found will be used in scientific research. Some folks say when life serves up lemons, make lemonade, and that seems to be what this gentleman did. 74-year-old Hayden Coyle of Owensville, Kentucky, suddenly found himself blind 40 years ago. He had to give up his farming business. But Hayden did not let that get his spirits down. He simply started his own caning business, a skill in high demand. He restores broken-down cane chairs, and as of today, he's backed up with more than 80 chairs to finish. It pays to always think positively. Well, that's WALABEAR News for today. I'm Eleanor Reynolds. Thanks for joining us, and remember, have fun this summer. Stay safe, obey your parents, and be kind to your brothers and sisters. Bye-bye.
And we're back, and we've got some more shocking information about electricity with the power guys, Mr. Rick and Mr. Lindell. Once again, we're glad you're here. Pretty darn swell. You know, everybody that's watching the show is seeing it through the use of an antenna. I notice we have a little antenna right here on this house here, and obviously there's something we need to be aware of.
Right. Girls, how many of you have ever helped your dad put up an antenna? Have you ever helped your dad? You have?
I help my dad.
Okay. Well, the thing we need to be aware of and concerned about a TV antenna is that it is made of aluminum or metal, and it is a conductor of electricity, right? So let's just energize our board and see what would happen, okay? Now, you see this antenna up here? It's arcing, isn't it? You can actually see it arcing. Let's move it away from the line and see it draw that arc.
Whoa.
And what's going to happen if you're holding the other end of that antenna? You really could. You could get seriously shocked or burned.
You'll have a brand new hairdo.
So if you're going to be helping your mom or dad and uncle or raising a TV antenna around your home, you need to call Alabama Power and let them know, because they'll be glad to come out and de-energize that line. In other words, they would cut the electricity off to make it safe for you to install that TV antenna, okay?
Right, and of course, if you lived in another nearby area, you just call your local utility and they'd come.
That's correct. Just call your local utility. Okay?
Well, looks like we have a little a man that's trying to climb up a ladder here.
Right. We need to talk about these aluminum ladders, and a lot of us have these aluminum extension ladders around our home that our dads like to paint around the house, and boy, we have a lot of painters that get into this wire that attaches to the house, and they get the aluminum ladder up here and they'll get shocked, and usually they fall off the ladder and break an arm or a leg, and it can be real dangerous, really serious, okay? So what we might want to think about is changing that aluminum ladder out to a wooden ladder or a fiberglass ladder, something that's a non-conductor of electricity, okay?
I think Happy Camper Adrian has a question over there.
At my house, we don't use metal things. We use wooden or glass things, because my parents know what electricity is and what it can do.
That's good.
Pretty darn observant.
That's good.
So, what else do we have here?
Okay, we're going to let Mr. Rick tell you a little bit more about the guy wires and the different power lines that we have, okay?
First of all, before I use my hand, I want to show you that I am going to disconnect the unit from the electrical source so that you know I can use my hand. It's just like any rule. It's like a rule that we have at Alabama Power Company. Any wire that you can't see from end to end, you assume that it has electricity into it, okay? So even if you think it's a telephone line, still don't pick it up. Call the utility. But the next wire we want to talk about is the guy wire. The guy wire, as you can see, goes from the ground up to the pole. Now, we know from working at Alabama Power Company, a lot of times kids like to play on these wires. We're going to ask you don't. In fact, we're going to ask you to be ambassadors for Alabama Power Company and for Ludy Lightning Bug and asking kids not to play with it. Because we know kids like to break this yellow part off and then move it up and down. Well, if you play with the guy wire enough, you can weaken it so that what happens, it actually guides the power pole. And if you break that wire, the power pole could fall down and hurt someone.
Shazam.
So we want to make sure we never do that.
So why do they have the yellow plastic on them?
The yellow plastic is a warning. It helps you see the wire because since they're metal and aluminum, they're sometimes hard to see. So we put the yellow guard on there for visual purposes, and also, like any wires, if you cut and twirl it, it can splinter out and injure someone. So that's why we ask, if you ever find a broken yellow guard or a weak guy wire, please call Alabama Power or tell an adult, and we'll come out there and fix that wire.
Incredibly fascinating. So happy campers can do good deeds and not play around power lines and not play with guide wires and tell their friends to do the same, correct?
That's correct.
That's great. Well, we'll be right back after this.
How come birds can sit on the power line? Because you don't touch the ground.
Boy, howdy, did we learn a lot of neat stuff today. We'd like to thank Mr. Lindell and Mr. Rick for coming out and teaching us all about electricity. And Mr. Lindell, I believe you have something for all of our players today?
Right. Thanks so much, Councilman Carl. We have a poster of electricity, about the electrical safety of being safe around electricity. We would like to present you at this time, you and Count WALABEAR. It tells all about electricity, okay?
Well, that's pretty darn swell. We'll hang this in the Hodgepodge Lodge for all to see.
Oh,
Look at that.
Great. And then we have some little safety stickers for the girls here today I'd like to pass out. The little things that we've covered about flying, never fly kites near power lines, and keep those antennas away from power lines, and keep those ladders away from power lines. We'd like to present you girls with these stickers,
Looky
okay?
there, looky there.
And then we would like to thank you for having us on your show today.
Well, we thank you for coming out. Mr. Rick, do you have anything to leave us with?
Oh, yes, we do. We have some safety rules, but we also want you to know that these are not all the rules about electricity. These are just some of the basic rules. Whenever you see anyone throw anything up to a power line or get near a power line, stay away. Because lately we've understood that children actually take videotape out of the cassettes and throw it over power lines, trying to get other kids to touch them. So we're going to ask you, if you've ever seen anything like that, please find an adult and let them know right away so we can stop that no one gets hurt. But these are some of the basic rules. And if you note, they got some neat rules on this side and a nifty ruler on this side. So please use them.
All right. Well, we really appreciate that. We're glad you're here. That about does it for us here. So don't forget to write us at Camp WALABEAR, P.O. Box 1548, Mobile, Alabama 36633. And remember, if we read your letters or use your riddles or knock-knock jokes on the air, you'll get one of these Wastewell Camp WALABEAR t-shirts. So happy campers, until next time, see ya!